Welcome to Consciousness Rising. My name is Fazila Bijo, and it is my pleasure to host you on this channel where I discuss consciousness, manifestation, spirituality, metaphysics, neuroscience, quantum physics. In fact, anything that actually will contribute to raising our consciousness and contribute to those who are on the path of their personal journey of awakening. In today's episode, I will be exploring and talking about some key teachings from Neville Goddard's book, Feeling is the Secret. Now, in terms of Feeling is the Secret, Neville says that this book is a book on the art of realizing our desires. I encourage you to read the text. I find that every time that I read any of Neville's teachings, his books or his lectures, or I listen to them, I come away with a different understanding. And I find that the teachings are multi-layered, multi-dimensional, and we become aware of the next level and the next layer because we ourselves have evolved from where we would have previously been. And I wanted to bring in the teachings of the Feeling is the Secret so that you can understand and already set the tone and a foundation for why feeling is so important and why Neville spent so much time talking about why our feeling is an important part of manifestation and our imagination and consciousness. Our consciousness is key to every state. Now, he talks about states of consciousness. And what states of consciousness are about is the sum total of our reactions to life. Now, if we had to have a state of being conscious of being wealthy, it will be all of our reactions in life about wealth. It'll be all of our reactions in life about how we see ourselves as being wealthy. So therefore, states of consciousness are quite important. Equally, if we had to be talking about a state of consciousness of being poor, it is because it is our reactions, our awareness around being poor, all of those past reactions, experiences, judgments, etc., contribute to how we will see ourselves and occupy a state of consciousness. Now, I must make that very clear. States exist in consciousness. So, I am wealthy, poverty, health, sickness, all of those exist. We decide to put ourselves into that state. We identify with the state based on our reactions, based on our beliefs, etc. So it is quite important then to realize that if we are in a particular state, it is because we ourselves are occupying that state. It is not that the state has occupied us. When we occupy a state of consciousness, it is because we believe that to be true. And as a result of our belief in that state being true, that state goes on to become what our external reality is going to reflect. Our consciousness is the cause as well as the substance. It is what our entire world is made up of. So Neville says to discover the secret of creation, we must understand what consciousness is, or the law of assumption is that consciousness creates reality. Your imagination, another word for consciousness, creates reality. Imagination is not about daydreaming. It is not about fantasy. Imagination is a very, very real and true gateway to our consciousness. It is when our thinking and feeling are fused, when we feel so deeply about a particular desire, that we ignite our consciousness, we implant our consciousness with that desire. So knowing how to operate this law will enable you to accomplish your desires in life. When you're looking to manifest, when you're wanting to create, and you want to build and maintain your world in a certain way, it is important to know how to operate this. So we get to understand what the conscious part of ourself is about. So consciousness is made up of the conscious and the subconscious. Now, with the conscious part of ourself, it is personal and selective. It is where we decide. It is what we choose to act upon. It is the realm of effect. It is how we effect things to become, to manifest in our lives. It is how they become real. If we had to take an analogy of it being the male principle or the male part of ourself, it is where we act from. It is the action. And it is where we generate our ideas. And these ideas then impress our subconscious. It literally impregnates our subconscious, because whatever we impregnate our subconscious with is what gets created. And on that note, our subconscious is impersonal and non-selective. There is no filter between the conscious and the subconscious part of ourselves. Like I said, our consciousness is all of it. There is no demarcation, but there is a function and a mechanism for how this works. So in terms of understanding now how manifestation takes place, we impregnate ourselves. We literally imprint ourselves with the ideas that we feel strongly about. And therefore, what is affected by the conscious part of ourself, our subconscious causes as a manifestation into our life. You could think of this as the female, because that part of ourself receives the ideas and gives form to them, which means that it becomes a reality. Now, I want to make very, very clear, it is what we feel strongly about, not what we desire. And I'll come to that in a moment. Because what we desire, we can want something, and yet we can feel strongly about the opposite. So I just want to make it very clear. You've got to become aware of what you are feeling strongly about. And therefore, in terms of comparison, so you can understand how the conscious functions versus the subconscious. Remember, it is where the conscious part of ourself chooses, the ideas are generated, and we feel whatever we hold on to, whatever we feel strongly about, is what is implanted into the subconscious. Now, this happens just prior to the time that we fall asleep. That time of before going to sleep can be wisely used by us in order to manifest. I will do a future video about that. In fact, the next video will be about how we prepare for sleep and how we also utilize prayer, not in a religious sense, but how we utilize prayer in order to manifest. So again, I just want to bring to your attention, your conscious part of your consciousness generates ideas and impresses that into the subconscious. And your subconscious receives that idea, does not discriminate it, and it will give it form. It will make that manifest. Therefore, this point is very important. To control the subconscious, it is achieved, it is accomplished through controlling our ideas and our feelings. So again, control of the subconscious is accomplished through control of our ideas and feelings. Because every feeling makes a subconscious impression. And this is why this text, this particular book, there are 4 chapters, and they are short chapters, but quite impactful, explains why feeling is so important in terms of manifestation. Now, unless when we have a feeling, let's say that we had a state of anger, unless it's counteracted by a more powerful but opposite feeling, that anger will be expressed in our life. And to illustrate this, if we had to say, I am healthy, it'll be a stronger feeling than to say, I will be healthy. I am says, I assume it, I already am it, but we've got to feel it strongly rather than saying I will be. The will be denotes the future, and when we want to bring our desires into manifestation, we must already assume those desires are ours. We must already assume that wish is already fulfilled. Now, why feeling is so important, and I want to highlight this. There's an unbroken connection between your feelings and your visible world. Our bodies are an emotional filter. Whatever we feel strongly will be reflected in our body. Our body reflects how we feel. Our body will tell us that we are entertaining feelings of anger, if your liver is having an issue, or if you are having an issue with your liver, rather. Grief tends to be in the lungs. It'll be a sign that you have unresolved grief if you're having lung issues, and so forth, so on and so forth. So emotional disturbances, especially those suppressed emotions, are the cause of all disease. So it's quite important then to start to understand, if you have been suppressing emotions, those feelings are quite strong. If you have not released them, if you have not let them go, they manifest as disease in the body and in our environment. Because Neville tells us here to feel intensely about a wrong without voicing or expressing that feeling, without releasing that feeling, is the beginning of disease in both our environment and our body. To impress the subconscious with the desired state, you must assume the feeling that would be yours had you already realized your wish. For example, if you want to impress your subconscious with the desired state of wealth, you must already assume what it would be like to be wealthy, or before it has appeared in your physical world. You must already assume what it's going to be like for you to already be wealthy. And that is why imagination creates reality, because your manifestation happens twice. It happens once in your imagination, and when you hold on to that state, it and you assume it, your assumption, by virtue of your assumption, is how you will hold that state, and that becomes the reality. Because if night after night you sleep in the state of being wealthy, your subconscious does not know that it isn't real, and it will become impregnated, it will become impressed with that feeling of wealth. So mastery of self, the control of our thoughts and feelings, is our highest achievement. So until we can perfect self-control of our thoughts and feelings in our day-to-day, in our waking time, we must learn then to use sleep and prayer to aid us in realizing our desires. And I will do a future video on that one, on sleep and prayer, and how you can utilize that in order to manifest your desires, until such time that you can start to master your thoughts and feelings in your waking time. It is a very good idea to have a practice in terms of how it is that you go to sleep. Thank you for joining me on my channel. Please like and subscribe and share my video so that I can continue to bring you more of these videos where I will break down the concepts and help you understand some of Neville's books and his lectures so that you can better apply this to your life.